It's home to the Basketball Hall of Fame, where the sport was first invented, nightlife, restaurants, outdoor parks and venues, and even MGM Casino. Yes, we're talking about Springfield. But when you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city, you can come right down Wilbraham Road to Loomis Lakeside at Reed's Landing and enjoy life by the lake with plenty of space to relax and enjoy, and beautiful cottages and apartments. You're going to find the space that's perfect for you.
I'm meteorologist Janna Brown, and today I'm here to talk to you a little bit about severe weather and severe weather safety here across Western Mass. Now, of course, what we see most often during the summer season is just general thunderstorms. Most thunderstorms that we get here in Western Mass are sub-severe, which means they're not quite at severe limits, but they can still pose quite a few threats. Of course, you never want to be outside during a regular thunderstorm because lightning is the #1 biggest concern with any storms that are produced. Everyone's always concerned about the strong wind or the flooding potential or even the threat of a tornado, but actually lightning is one of the most dangerous kinds of weather that we can face. Cloud-to-ground lightning at times can get up to 50 or even 80,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, lightning is incredibly dangerous and can strike without warning. Even out ahead of a thunderstorm, something that a lot of folks refer to as heat lightning, which is actually lightning from a thunderstorm that's too far away to actually hear the thunder. But lightning can travel several miles farther than the actual thunderstorm itself. And, you know, we've heard bolts from the blue. So there have been times when lightning has reached out so far from a thunderstorm that it strikes an area that has blue sky. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. Thunderstorms can also produce torrential rain, which we know that for sure. We've seen our fair share. Gusty wind up to anywhere, usually when we get a thunderstorm coming through, we'll have some 20 or 30 mile an hour gusts. That's most typical. Sometimes you can get a 40 or 50 mile an hour gust, and that's considered a strong thunderstorm. And then once you get up over that, that's when we start talking about severe weather. Thunderstorms can also produce hail, something we don't see too often here in Western Mass, but it does happen on occasion, especially in the summer, where we can get hailstones usually the size of maybe dimes or pennies, but then there's also severe levels of hail where it reaches quarter-sized or even bigger. So cloud-to-ground lightning, again, that's the biggest concern. I always tell the kiddos that I'm talking to when I go on school visits that you really have to be careful of lightning. You want to make sure you're never in the water, of course, because that electricity can travel through water, say on a rain-soaked ground. You're standing on one side of a turf, the other side is covered in puddles, and that electricity can travel through that water on the ground and electrocute you. A lot of times we see intra-cloud lightning, so where it looks like the cloud is just kind of lighting up. On occasion, you get, lightning bolts that shoot out of the top of the cloud, which sometimes you can see when you're flying in airplanes or when it jumps from cloud to cloud. But usually what we see most often and the most dramatic is that cloud-to-ground lightning. So we can see lightning, of course, with any thunderstorms that develop, whether they're weak or they're intense or severe. And of course, the stronger the thunderstorm, the more lightning it's going to produce. Now, also, the stronger the thunderstorm, the more hail it's likely to produce. And when thunderstorms produce hail, there's a couple of things that have to happen within the thunderstorm itself. First of all, when we are looking at thunderstorms, if we are going to be talking about a hail concern, those thunderstorm heights from the base of the cloud all the way up to the top of the cloud, that's going to be substantially or significantly high. So we're talking, 40, 50, 60,000 feet up. Something airplanes have to avoid. Usually when we see smaller hail, it's because those thunderstorm tops don't get that high. But when we start talking about severe levels of hail, which is quarter-sized or bigger, that's because those thunderstorms have really been able to grow. The wind is going up and down within those thunderstorms. The raindrops in the thunderstorm cloud, they go up to where temperatures are well below freezing. They freeze to ice, they fall back down, melt, and then this process happens hundreds, thousands of times. So the hailstones continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Usually they'll fall out of the cloud, possibly as big as golf ball sized here in Western Mass, and that is extreme for us. But out across parts of the Midwest, tennis ball, baseball, softball sized hail, and this is how meteorologists really kind of give you an idea of how big those hailstones can be. This is pretty much what everybody uses is like a legend. And then grapefruit size, that's something that no one sees all that often, but it can definitely happen. So when we start talking about severe levels of hail, severe levels of lightning, severe levels of wind, when we talk about thunderstorms that are a little bit more than generic, they start to become dangerous or damaging. You'll hear a meteorologist issue, there's a severe thunderstorm watch or severe thunderstorm warning. When we talk about a watch, we're talking about the possibility of severe storms. We highlight counties depending on how good your chances are. This picture here behind me, this was when Berkshire County had a good chance of seeing severe storms, but the valley did not. So we break down the probability by counties. Now, these warnings and watches come from the National Weather Service, and then as meteorologists on television, we give that information to the folks at home. So a watch versus warning, and this is one of the most basic things in meteorology, but one of the most important. A severe thunderstorm watch, a tornado watch, a flash flood watch, a blizzard watch, winter storm watch. I've almost blocked that out of my mind this time of year. Severe thunderstorms are likely. At this point, have a plan. Be weather ready. Okay, we're going to get storms possibly this afternoon that could become severe. You want to make sure you're not hiking. You want to make sure that you're not stuck out at the beach without a place to go. When a warning is issued, that means the storm is occurring or is expected to occur at any moment. In the winter, we usually have a lot of lag time. Those warnings usually get posted 24, sometimes even 48 hours before the storm hits. In severe weather during the summertime, it can happen very, very quickly, especially when we talk about tornadoes. So you want to be sure that as soon as you hear a warning, you're prepared to take action at that moment. When it comes to severe thunderstorms, typically we see this: wind gusts of 58 miles an hour, hail potentially up to an inch in size. When we get severe storms that are a little bit higher end, 70-mile-an-hour wind, hail golf ball sized possible. We see those very, very rarely. When we're talking about destructive thunderstorms that are definitely above and beyond the norm, wind can get up to 80+ miles an hour, and even baseball-sized hail is possible. Those storms don't happen often for us here in Western Mass. Again, very, very rare. When storms like this do develop, a lot of those emergency alerts go out to your phone. This is typical for tornado warnings and for flash flood warnings as well. So lots of ways to stay informed. Sometimes when you get isolated wind that's 80, 90 miles an hour, we refer to those as microbursts. Microbursts, downdrafts, kind of similar, except a microburst is very, very localized. Usually talking an area up to 2 miles in diameter, and that's it. A lot of people confuse microburst damage for tornado damage because it is similar looking. You really have to get down and look at the pattern of fallen trees to determine whether it was a tornado or a microburst. But a microburst is when this air comes out of the base of the thunderstorm cloud. It's incredibly intense. It hits the ground and spreads out in all directions. We have seen these on occasion here in Western Mass, and they can cause some significant damage that a lot of people refer to as tornado damage. Now, when you get a line of thunderstorms, now, specifically, we call them usually squall lines when you get a line of severe storms. But if that line of storms has been ongoing for hours, bringing widespread, long-lived, strong wind damage, the damage path of 250 miles an hour or more with gusts up to 60 miles an hour or more, that's called a derecho. You don't hear the term often, but when meteorologists mention it, it's important to remember what it is because it can be very significant. Typically here in Mass, we see one every 4 years or so. The last one hit Lynn back in 2006, but there may have been one in more recent years, maybe south in Connecticut or north into parts of Vermont and New Hampshire. It doesn't happen too often here in New England, but it can occur. And usually you see it coming, but when it comes through, it can bring some serious damage. So watch Western Mass News, of course. Have a weather radio. That's always good safety sense. Make sure that you charge your cell phone. If we're ever going to get severe weather, you want to make sure that you can get those alerts on your phone. We always tell the kids when thunder roars, go indoors. So when it starts getting loud outside, lightning is close by, you want to make sure that you head inside. Keep away from windows. You know, you can actually find safety in a car, especially during a regular thunderstorm. The metal on the outside of the car is actually what keeps you safe and not the rubber tires, which is a general misconception. If your car does get hit by lightning, the electricity will travel through the outside of the car in the metal and then get absorbed into the ground, so keeping you inside the car safe. When we're talking about severe storm safety, I usually don't bring up cars because at this point you're dealing with hail, with a flood threat, potential for a tornado, potential for damaging wind, for trees to come down. Honestly, a lot of people who get hurt in severe storms, it's because they're seeking shelter in a car, in a vehicle, and a tree comes down and crushes the car. This happens a lot in winter storms too, keep that in mind. So we say, with severe weather, be inside of a building. Keep away from the windows, avoid electrical equipment, pick a tornado safe room in your home. You can go there for severe storms as well. And you want to make sure that that's the interior part of your house. Speaking of tornadoes, how do they form? Well, we need a lot of things to go right. It's like baking a cake. If you miss an ingredient, it's just not going to happen. So typically we have surface wind going one direction, upper level wind going another. This creates rotation within the atmosphere. You need a lot of other things to come together to cause these storms to rotate. But once the thunderstorms begin to rotate, there's automatically a chance for a tornado to form. So you need a lot of specific things to go right in order for that to happen. But if we start getting that really solid circulation, there are signs. Sometimes the base of the clouds kind of come down. We call it a wall cloud. We'll see it rotating slowly. If you start to see a piece of cloud kind of come down and it's spinning, we call that a funnel cloud. There are a lot of times where we get false funnel clouds called scud clouds, where it looks like it's coming down, it looks like it could be a tornado, but it's not actually spinning. The spin is absolutely necessary, of course, for it to actually be a funnel cloud. The wind will start reaching to the ground, begin picking up debris and dust and pulls it back into the funnel, and that's when we have our tornado. This is one of my favorite things I show folks. You may find it silly, you may find it helpful. The difference between a tornado watch and a tornado warning. The warning is no joke. That's when things get very dangerous. And in a tornadic situation, you may only have seconds to find your tornado safe place. When we get tornado warnings here at Western Mass News, we're on the air until it's over, and we just constantly stay on, tracking the storm, watching where it's going, taking a look at as much detail as we possibly can. And this is from a day when we did have a tornado warning. Tornado safety, best thing to do is be in the interior part of your house and the lowest level. So head to the basement. If you don't have a basement, an interior hallway, a stairwell, a bathroom, stay away from windows though. That's the most important thing. So again, safest place to be is in the basement. If you feel more protected, covering yourself with blankets or a mattress, you can do that. But remember, downstairs is definitely the most important thing to do. And then, of course, we can always get flash flooding, especially when we're watching tropical systems that may come up the coast. So that's why we talk about, hurricane forecasts from time to time, because if we get any of that moisture coming into New England, we can easily flood, especially in the Pioneer Valley. So flood preps and tips, this is for all year round, of course, not just for any kind of severe weather, but flash flooding can always be a concern. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Only takes a foot of water to float vehicles. It only takes about 6 inches of fast moving water to knock a person off their feet. So overall, just be prepared. Make sure that you have a severe weather plan. Know where to go, know what to do in any kind of weather situation that we get. Have a kit ready to go, a disaster kit. Have it in your car, have it in your basement, where you have some bottled water, where you have a couple of, non-perishable food items, things that can be on the shelves for quite a long time. You won't really have to deal with that much in a tornado situation, but if you are out and about, you're on the road, anything can happen, so you want to be prepared as much as possible. Warnings are key. Make sure you have a way to receive them. We have a Western Mass News weather app that can alert you no matter where you are. There are those EAS alerts that go right to smartphones for tornadoes and flash floods. We, of course, are always on the air giving you the latest information. Have that NOAA weather radio. That's always a wonderful thing to have, especially if storms come through in the middle of the night. And always just check, at the beginning of the day, check the forecast, see how it's looking, and then go ahead and make your plans. And remember, severe weather can happen at any point during the calendar year. So remember to always be prepared.
Home to shops, restaurants, and the campus of Mount Holyoke College, South Hadley, Massachusetts is nestled in the heart of the Pioneer Valley. The town commons are host to a plethora of shopping and restaurants. There's even a movie theater as well. Plenty to do, but at the same time, plenty of room to relax. You can experience all this and more with life at Loomis Village. Choose from one of our independent living villa, cottages, or apartments, or Gardenside Assisted Living. Come see what life is like at the Village. If you're looking for the excitement of a college town with the serenity of small town living, then settling in the heart of the Pioneer Valley in Amherst, Massachusetts is perfect for you. Shops and restaurants, plenty of outdoor dining experiences, and room to move around means that you, your family, and friends can feel free to enjoy. And when the day is done, you come back to your customized apartment at Applewood with spacious living and tons of amenities. There's even plenty of outdoor courtyards for you to relax and enjoy the beautiful weather that Western Massachusetts has to offer.